Snakes are very scary animals for a lot of reasons. One reason is how they eat and digest food. Unlike humans and many other animals, they don't just swallow food and digest it normally. Instead, many snakes swallow their prey whole. They then use stomach acids to dissolve their prey over a long period of time. This is so they don't lose out on any nutrients they could have otherwise lost. But sometimes, bizarre things have been found in snakes. From animals way bigger than any snake, to things you'd expect to find in your home or garage. I'm Charlie, and today we're going to look at the weirdest things found inside giant snakes. Before we slither on in, why not subscribe and press the notification bell too. Hippo. Snakes can really expand their mouths and bodies as much as they want, and this means they can literally eat anything they want, even things way bigger than themselves. You've heard people say, I could eat a horse before, but one thing you don't often hear is, I could eat a hippo. Well, that's exactly the mindset of one African anaconda. This footage was caught by Brazilian tourists in Africa. As you can see, this gigantic anaconda has consumed a hippopotamus. It's struggling to digest it, so it spits it out. The spectacle was caught on camera and made headlines around the world. It actually took 8 hours for the anaconda to eat this hippo. Normally, snakes don't eat in front of humans. But in this situation, the anaconda was way too bloated. It couldn't move and had to enjoy its 8-hour feast in front of a bunch of stunned people. Tires. You've heard the expression in a restaurant that eating uncooked meat is like eating rubber. We've all said it before, but we've never thought to actually eat rubber. Well, one snake did have that exact thought and ate some tires. A snake in rural Louisiana found some tires stacked behind a storage shed. The man who owned the storage shed reported the tires to be stolen to the police, and the police did actually suspect neighbors of stealing them. But a few days later, the half-consumed tires were found near the scene of the crime. The snake was not actually found, but animal control agents were able to work out what happened. The tires were quite thoroughly digested, and the tires had been digested so much they were beyond being fixed. Although the snake was never found, it was thought to be a python. Cooler. We've all been there, fishing, having a few beers from your cooler, and then you get hungry. So you decide to chomp down your Igloo Cooler. Okay, maybe not, but that is the mindset of some snakes. Or at least, that was the mindset of one snake in Brazil. When snakes are hungry, they often eat the first thing they see. It doesn't matter how big or difficult it is to consume. The snake was at a Brazilian camping site and ran into an Igloo Cooler full of beer. The snake was found and taken to a medical center at a local university. It was easy for the massive anaconda to consume the cooler, but according to scientists, it would have never digested it. The plastic cooler would have taken ages and the metal beer cans even longer. The cooler was actually returned to the people who still use it today, but the beer had gone pretty warm and nasty, so was thrown out. Kangaroo. This may well be the most Australian story you've ever heard. One day in northern Australia, people were having a dinner party. That's when, on the front lawn of the diners, realised something strange. They saw a snake, but it was wrapped around something. They went out to investigate and found a 6-foot python wrapped around a kangaroo. It sounds like something out of a Steve Irwin TV show. But no, this was a python having its own dinner party. Pythons usually crush their prey by wrapping around them tightly. Then they'll eat and consume them. Sadly, the people having the dinner party could not scare the python off. It was way too late and the kangaroo was eaten by the python. It's the circle of life, I guess. Unbelievably, the python swallowed the entire kangaroo whole. Snakes do this in order to save up nutrients and digest it over a long period of time. The python likely could have digested this over 4 months. This means it can preserve its energy and not need to hunt all the time. Alligator. You may think that in the food chain, alligators rank higher than snakes, but never underestimate those slithery devils. One day, some hikers in Queensland, Australia found something very scary. That was an aquatic battle between an alligator and a water python. These are two of the scariest water-based predators in the world, and you'd think the water python would lose. After all, this alligator was not a baby and was fully grown. The hikers waited 5 hours and watched the entire thing play out. Eventually, the python wrapped itself around the alligator. It then crushed it and swallowed it. It was able to subdue it by suffocating it underwater. The water python was 10 foot long, and it was able to drag it onto shore to eat it. That's gotta be the most dramatic hike these Australians have ever been on. And when you're talking about Australia, that's really saying something. Other snakes. Many don't know this, but one of the snake capitals of the world is China. And that's where this piece of footage comes from. As you can see, there is a ferocious battle between these two snakes, and in the end, one wins and swallows the other. Surprisingly, the smaller snake actually overpowers the larger snake, and then it swallows it whole. Neither of these snakes were venomous, which is why the guy filming it was pretty close, but still a little too close for my liking. This comes from the Sichuan province of China, and it's actually a pretty common event, as snakes can sometimes prey on other snakes. Golf clubs. If you were having a jolly day on the golf course and then you turn around and your clubs are missing, you'd assume someone stole them. After all, golf clubs can be pretty pricey. That's what happened to some golfers one day in northern Georgia, USA. They came out of the clubhouse and found their clubs to be missing. At first, they thought someone stole them, but instead it was a something. It turned out a snake had swallowed the clubs and made off with them. Golf courses are known for unusual wildlife coming into them. That includes crocodiles, alligators, and snakes. The golfers reported this to the cops. The cops did in fact find the snake, but could not get the clubs out. The cops did not arrest the snake and also couldn't just cut it open and get the clubs out. It seems that while no human is above the law, snakes are. Electric blanket. In 2006, one snake owner realized an electric blanket was missing, and it didn't take long for him to realize that it was his 12-foot Burmese python who was to blame. Carl Besnoska instantly took the python to a vet, and it took surgery to remove the entire queen-sized electric blanket. Houdini the python also swallowed the electrical cord and control box. Houdini's owner Carl said the blanket likely got tangled up in the snake's rabbit dinner. Houdini was 60 pounds. And it needed the electric blanket for warmth. That's because snakes are unable to make their own body heat. Thankfully, the blanket was removed and Houdini made a full recovery, although the blanket was not used again and had to be thrown away. Donuts. Everyone loves grabbing coffee and donuts on the way to work, so why wouldn't snakes love them too? One day a Krispy Kreme employee was going out to the dumpster behind the store. They were throwing away some expired donuts when they found a gigantic 10-foot snake in the dumpster. The snake had been chowing down on the previous night's donuts which had been thrown out. According to the Krispy Kreme employee, the snake had eaten 60 donuts. Experts say the snake likely thought that the glazed donuts were eggs from an animal. And while it may sound nicer to eat 60 Krispy Kreme donuts, it wasn't for this snake. It actually made it pretty ill and it had to go to the vet to be treated. Thankfully though, it made a full recovery. Let's hope the Krispy Kreme employee shuts the dumpster more securely next time. But now it's time for you to make your voice heard. Which was the most unusual thing a snake swallowed on this list? Vote in the poll in the top right corner and let me know. If you want some more amazing videos, then have a look at my second channel. But as always, thank you for watching. There are some more videos on screen right now. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.